What's going on, Clipper fans? It's Jonathan Timm here, back with a very special episode of the Muskegon Clippers Extra podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, just a general off-season YouTube video, but this is not just a general off-season YouTube video. We are about to unveil some news that's already been presented to you fans, but it's time now for Coach Brian Wright to reintroduce himself from assistant coach to now the third head coach of the Muskegon Clippers. And Brian, congratulations, and let's get your initial thoughts on this new role for you and the challenges and excitement that lie ahead.
Well, thanks, Jonathan, and I appreciate we getting together here again. And yeah, it's been kind of a crazy 3-4 weeks, I guess it was. To back up a little bit, that's really when I began being an assistant coach. I've been an assistant coach for 10 years. In the back of my mind, that wasn't my goal. Oh, I want to do this until I become a head coach, because I enjoyed the role that I was playing. And but then when Walt handed over to Logan had to retire just because of his new job at Tennessee Wesleyan. And I did some thinking. Walt talked to me, Logan talked to me, and Logan asked me a question one night, and he said, B-Dub, tell me one reason why you shouldn't take the job. And we kind of sat there together, and I said, I don't really have one. I mean, I love this position, and I love doing what I'm doing. And I went home and thought about it a lot, talked it over with my wife, Kelly, and I called Walt, I think 2 nights later, and told him that I would love to accept that, the position. And then Walt and Pete and I met, and we talked about some things. And yes, needless to say, Jonathan, I'm very excited.
And how was that conversation with former Clipper head coach Logan Fleener? Because you two have been, buddy, not just as coaches, but, going back to his days as player and your days still as assistant coach.
Right. That's the beauty of this game of baseball. Logan played for us in 2016 and became close with him then. And then when he took the job, and for 4 summers, we have been pretty much the sidekick, stuck together, and we have learned a lot about each other. I feel very privileged that I was able to work under Logan for 4 years and learn a lot of baseball from Logan. But other than that, it's just the lifelong brotherhood that we have developed. And he was really excited. He was first one when I told him. He said that you should take the job, B-Dub. It's your time, and that felt me good. So it was just great to work underneath Walt for 6 years and then work under Logan for 4 years. So that was a benefit to me.
And that's a great gesture to pass the torch as well, considering how close you both have been as a coaching staff that's been through the thick and thin of Muskegon Clipper baseball. You mentioned what you guys have learned from each other. Talk about general things in baseball that, yes, you guys have learned off of each other, because you're a Michigan high school baseball Hall of Famer, and he's been, around the college game for a long time. Describe that.
It was funny because I was just thinking about this the other night after I'm sitting in my chair with my new knee replacement, not being able to move around much, and I was just thinking about how the game is different than the high school game. And what I mean by that, the pace of it is a lot quicker. And I think one of the key things that I learned from Logan is it seemed like he was a play, 2-3 plays ahead. He's already thinking about now, if Billy gets on base, we're going to run Ben for Billy and all those things, So I know the game is going to be faster. I think I'm going to do fine with that. It's just a different game a little bit, because you got to be thinking not just in the present pitch, but next batter, next inning, do we bring the reliever? So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting.
Oh, it certainly will. And I would always describe it on the broadcast as fleen ball. Get a runner on, get him over, get him in. What's the definition of a right ball? Play the game the right way. Oh, I'm gonna use that one a time and time again.
No, I like I say, I've learned from both those guys, and I think the one really big area I've learned from Logan is the running game. We put on 2 years ago, I think you probably know the stat more than I do, but it was well over 100 stolen bases, and we just seemed to put a lot of pressure on the defense. And I think you've got to do that, and I think we have to play with energy, whether at the plate, in the field, and that those are just some of the things I'm going to stress as well.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. And on speed dial, 114 stolen bases 2 years ago to cite exactly what you were saying.
Right,
Head coach
exactly.
Brian Wright. How does that title feel now? Not to pound the chest more, but you're the head man. And, is this a shock to you? Is it an adjustment, or does it all tie into the excitement?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I know the shoes that I'm going to be in are bigger shoes now than what they were the role that I played. And I felt like I played a really big role, being a bench coach, coaching first base, doing defensive things. But the shoes are going to be, they're going to be bigger, but they're exciting. It's I've been coaching a long time, and I know high school is different than college, but yet it still has three bases, a home plate, and a pitcher's mound. It's just the pace of it's just going to be a little bit faster. But I'm excited. I'm really excited for that challenge. And it's something that, during this off season that it's not like I'm just going to put Clippers in the back seat and not think about next summer, so that will be an exciting part.
What about another change? So you've always been the first base coach. So that means when righties are at the plate, you got to be ready for them to push one your direction. I guess even lefties to pull it. Now you're going to be primarily, I'm assuming, third base coach now.
Right.
Gotcha,
And
gotcha.
I know that you always worry about me, Jonathan. And I appreciate after I got plunked that one game, and I don't even know where we were, but it's different over there. The responsibilities are different, and but it's something that I do all spring with the high school team, and now I just have the opportunity to be able to do that with the Clippers.
Have you ever had a hunch in your time with the Clippers that, all right, maybe one day this could potentially be for me? Because at the start of this talk, you said, I'm very content with the assistant job. But was there ever a longing deep down that, okay, if the opportunity presents itself, I definitely will take this up?
Yes, there was. When we first started out this organization, when Walt was at the helm and they asked me to be an assistant, I did the first base, and that was fine. And then when he decided, I think it's time for me to step down, and he talked to me about it. He said, B-Dubba, if you'd like it, I think you would do a great job doing it. And I kind of thought about it, and back and forth, and I'm still teaching, even though I'm still teaching now and coaching high school baseball, I said, I don't think so. I said, if you can find someone that I'm really comfortable working with, I would love staying in the same role, and then we brought some names up, and then when we brought Logan's name up, and that was one that I said, let's see if we can get Logan, just because I enjoyed coaching him as a player, and I thought it would be so unique to be able then to be as an assistant coach for 4 years, and I'm really glad I made that decision, and so to say I was ready now, I don't think I was really ready then, but I'm certainly ready now to be the head coach.
And it's not like you're stepping into a position where you're not familiar with the organization, the grounds we play on, the routine that, has been Coach Fleener's way the last 4 years and what has been working for the organization as of late. Talk to me about that familiarity factor.
Yeah, and that was something that when I met with Pete and Walt, that they were really excited that I was willing to take on this role, and they said that just makes us feel good because it's not like we have somebody that doesn't know anything about the Clippers, the Clipper way, familiar with the city of Muskegon, the fans, and this and that. So, and I think that will be a very easy transition. I think the fans, I know a lot of those fans, and I think it's funny. I've been getting a lot of text messages when it was posted after I took the job, and so that was kind of a warm feeling, that they are welcoming as the next head coach.
But this isn't the first time you've had to step in as at least acting head coach. That's correct.
No, that's correct. I had to step in a few times for Walt, and I had to step in a couple of times for Logan. So but it's just different. And you're the one writing out the lineup card and this and that. But that's the fun part. That's the exciting part of this.
Yeah, I'm sure it certainly helps. And although I wouldn't say that maybe that's a taste test of
There you
what it's
go.
like to
Right.
play
Right.
as the acting head coach. Now,
Exactly.
you know, your coaching philosophies, you and I have talked about it with your duties at Shelby on other platforms before, on how there's a difference between, motivating and dealing with high school and college players. And, with you mentioned the game is faster from a managing the players standpoint. How do you expect it to be different from your current duties at Shelby in terms of managing high school guys now being in charge of college players all summer?
Right. And I think there's one difference that certainly is these guys, although the high school kids want to play as much as the college guys, but these guys want to play, and that's something that you've got to really handle. And switching the lineup over, and maybe this guy has played 2 days in a row, he needs a day off, or this and that. So it's that's an area that I know will be a little bit different. The one thing I know when we have our preseason meeting with the team over at Pete's house, is that even though the role is different, and I know some of these guys, we have some returning, they may know who I am, I'm still going to be the same person. There's going to be times I might be pushing them harder than maybe I did before, but I'm just kind of coach. I just want you to play hard, give me your 100% every day, and we'll see what happens.
You mentioned that, 10 years with the Clippers and you've been coaching for over 40 at Shelby. How much has the game changed from you being up close and observing for your whole life, from the time when you were a player to now in the present day 2025? Just the game overall.
Sure. Well, I think an area of the game is, I think the players today they're bigger and they're faster and they're stronger. Back when I played, the weights were not nearly the way they are now. And that even stems from my high school kids and definitely to the college guys, And in technology, I mean, the college guys, they use that during the season far more than, we really don't have any access to it in the summer, So that area has really changed. And it's still, though, sometimes we wonder when we ask ourselves, do we watch baseball? Do they even the college guys? Ability wise, they're very, very good, but we're always talking about that baseball knowledge. That you really can't take a class from it, but you've got to really have that baseball knowledge, and that's something that we preach every day. To be a smart baseball player.
Let's talk about the previous season we just got done with. Now, when I turned off the microphone after talking to Lucas Brewer, who was player of the game in the finale, it felt like a movie that had a horrible ending that left you with more questions than answers. So with that in mind, does that light a fire under you with going into this season now with you as the head coach?
Oh, very much so. I talked to one of our players. He called me the other night and we talked about, the end of the season, and I still talk with Logan and Walt. And I said, you look at a 42 game season and the emphasis was so big at the end. We had to win every game. We had to win those last 3 games. And I said, I understand that, but when you really look back, that first 3 game series was as important as the last 3 game series. So that's something that I'm going to be talking to the 2026 Clippers about, that, hey, these early games are as important, if not more important, than even at the end. We could go back and redo 1 game, Jonathan. It would have put us in the playoffs,
Yeah, no kidding. And, it on the field, at least, amidst the heartbreak finding out that the Locos and Monarchs game got canceled, it seemed like, the guys finished the season strong, and that had to feel good watching from the sidelines as a coach.
It really did. We had a stretch in the middle of the season that we weren't playing very good, and we started out slowly too, but then all of a sudden we started picking up speed, and certain guys all of a sudden really started playing, started hitting the ball, and they didn't want it to end. They were as disappointed as a group when Logan made that announcement as we've ever had, and so to say that it ended in a good way because we won those final 3 games. but it ended in a very disappointing way too, that we didn't get put in the playoffs.
I was probably looking more at the Lima Locos Twitter page before more than I was looking at the live stats. I'm going to be completely honest. And for me,
I know.
it was heartbreaking as well to call the rest of the game with a straight face, knowing regardless of what happens. I mean, yeah, it was great that the Clippers took care of business, but there was a lot of information that, by the word of mouth, some of the fans didn't even realize. So
Oh,
it
I
was
know.
just a tough situation. And did
But
was the news broken to you guys in the middle of the
well,
game, or was that not?
well, Logan never knew it, and but because I didn't know what the final verdict was, but I remember it was Nate Massari called me over in between an inning and said, "Coach, what happens if Lima's game gets rained out?" And I said, "Well, I'm sure they're going to wait really long into the night to try to get it completed because it's really important, or maybe they'll even make it up." And he said, "Well, they just canceled tonight's game." So then that kind of left a really kind of an empty pit in my stomach, like I don't know what's going to happen. And then we found out that it's by percentage points, and the disappointment came upon all of us.
At the end of the day, though, I certainly feel that the end of the season ties to Clippers' philosophy, and that's focusing on what you can control. And I'm sure am I right by saying that's a message you're going to try to instill to the 2026 squad?
Exactly, exactly. We there's too many times that I don't think we took ownership of, hey, we got to control this game right here, whether it be the second game of a doubleheader or whatever, and let's take care of what we can control, and hopefully not have to count on someone else.
I won't put you on the spot by asking your favorite, but let's focus on the good now. What were some of the better memories for you upon the conclusion of the 2025 season? For you and the team as a whole?
Right, right. I'm going to talk about my first record. What the season meant to me. It same thing. It meant a season of some unbelievable relationships that I built. I mean, when the season ended, I got so many text messages about the season from the guys that they just wished it hadn't ended, and that's what this is all about. It's about relationships, and I want to keep building those relationships as a head coach, because you want them to be able to. They want to run through a brick wall for you, and hopefully those relationships will continue to grow. We had a walk off win. I think didn't was it Connor Kelly? We had the eighth inning, no, not a 10th inning walk off win. We had a couple extra inning wins. I know that were really, really big, and just those games that we just kept fighting tooth and nail, and whether it be coming from behind or holding it or any of those things, were just fantastic memories.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we look forward to hopefully having more memories, maybe more so down the road later in the season in late July, early August as well.
Right,
And it was different. It really was, because 2 seasons ago, and at least I should say in the Coach Fleener era of things, you had 2022, 17, and 21, and then the big boom buster 33-5 year that I think will never get touched. And
right.
then last year, finishing as runner-ups. So going into this season, there was that very high expectation. So, it was certainly a learning year for everyone. Am
Right.
I right?
Well, and Jonathan, when you look back at, we were either 1-7 or 1-8. I'm sure you can remember what did we
One
start
and
out,
eight,
Jonathan?
yes.
1-8, and then we always said afterwards we do our post game meal together, the three coaches, and if someone would have walked up and said, "You know what, guys, hang in there. You're going to be 22-20 when the season's over." Oh, I don't know if many of us would have said, "You're right. You're right." But that's just a credit to the coaching staff. I thought we just hung together and we worked really, really well together, and I think that's one thing that Logan and this year is with Tristan. We just preached, we've got to be tight. We've got to be one, and a credit to the players. I mean, they're the ones that we started off really slow, but they kept believing what we tried to get across to them, and had quite a finish. Quite a finish.
Yeah, you love mentioning the other coaches. Everyone's getting promoted. I saw Tristan Camp, of course, new position at Illinois College out of the Midwest Conference in Division Three. Obviously,
Right.
Coach Fleener with Tennessee Wesleyan, and now you. Uh, another baseball moment for you as an involved man in the sport. You know, we talked off the record before about, how many more years you got left, when are you going to hang it up? But do you think now that you're in the shoes of the Clippers that, all right, maybe this is not something I want to give up all that soon?
Well, that's the plan. That's the plan. I people talk about age a lot, and to me, age is just a number. That's
Oh yeah.
whether you're 31 or 60, whatever. It's just a number, and it's about having the energy, about having the passion, and I'm just a baseball. I'm a baseball lifer. I just love the game. I love being around the game. I love being around people in the game, and so who knows? I'm not going to certainly put an end to this. So
We will keep on counting, and that Hall of Fame resume will keep on writing. Thank you, fans, for listening. Thank you, B-Dub, for your time today. Congratulations again, and go easy on the knee. All right,
yeah,
keep up the smooth recovery. We're wishing you the best.
there you go. Thank you, Jonathan. It's always good to talk with you again. So.
Alrighty, Clipper fans. Again, this is new Clipper head coach Brian Wright now taking the throne. And thank you all for listening. Find our podcast on Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the Muskegon Clippers, like, comment, and share with your friends. Hey, we'll keep you guys posted on updates going into the 2026 season. I'm Jonathan Timm, and as always, we will see you next time.